Hey guys, and welcome back to exactly where we left off in the last episode. And in case you missed it, in the last episode we made all 18 required ATM stars to finish the pack. And thus, in this one, I'm gonna finish the pack. All the creative items, all the ATM star automation. Yeah, that's today's plan. There do happen to be two separate recipes to automate ATM stars. One of them is the one I've used to make these 18 stars right here, but the other is the recipe that I will be using once I get the bees. And, well, guess who got the bees? I did. Here they are, right here in my hands. Completely productivity at the wazoo. Here are 6 bees that are going to turn into starry bees. So to make the starry bee, you gotta feed the Patrick bee the ATM star block. And you know what? There we are. ATM star block. There is a Patrick bee. And there is a starry bee. I need to put this guy in a cage. And in goes the first starry bee. And what it's gonna eat is gonna be the star block. So that is going to feed that bee. And this bee is supposed to produce the honeycomb blocks that are required to make the ATM star shards. Of course, I'm just going to give it a mega bulk item cell and then forget about it because it's going to be slow to produce, but it's just going to be produced in the background while I'm not paying attention to it. How many do I have already? I don't know. Let's find out. Shards, I have 96, 102. This is fine. And as alluded to in the previous episode, it's time for the machines behind me to go bye-bye. That's because I need the space to make soul binding crystals, and soul binding crystals require not only corrupt souls in a runic crucible, but they also need this other enchanted soul in another runic crucible with the holy hand grenade. So we just need more stuff in general, and I have run out of space. Don't look at the walls behind me, I have plans. So, actually removing these by hand is literally taking forever. So I've come up with the ingenious idea of just using my destruction gadget on them, just right click them. I'm getting arcane crystals from the bees anyways, so it don't really matter. And since the bottom's also gonna go bye-bye, I'm removing the bottom ones too. Just simply delete them. If you can't remove them, just get rid of them. Ta-da! And while clearing all of this out, something else important has happened. So you see, it's been a long time goal of mine to actually have the quantum nano armor, even if I don't exactly use it, because, come on, this quantum armor is so much nicer. But I had sort of forgotten about it after making the quantum armor. And only recently have I gotten around to crafting the last quantum upgrade required to actually make the stuff. So, there goes nothing. That's gonna be that. That's gonna be that, and I should totally speed this up to get this over with. There we go. Do that one. Not that one. Do this one. Yep. And then do this one. Yep. And then I think I just put these back in. What's the recipe then? What's all this then? Let's see. What? Oh. I seem to be mistaken. At some point in time, it was the case where all of these armors used to use the quantum armor as a base, and now they seem to use netherite and just a bunch of MI stuff as a base. You know what, that's easy enough. I'm not even gonna bother doing that. I just ended up making a second set of quantum armor for nothing. And honestly, I reckon I know exactly how this happened. I, at some point, was interested in making all of these armors, of course, because I have a wall of armors that is still not complete, and I'm already at the finale. I'm gonna have to do something about it before the world download. But the thing with quantum armors was that I wanted one set of quantum armor for myself, and I wanted another set to put on display, and then have another set just to make the next tier of quantum armor. And I think somewhere over there, I got my wires crossed, and ended up in a situation where I now have 2 sets of quantum armor and nobody to wear them, because this quantum armor that I'm currently wearing is just that much better than everything else. But anyways, I have encoded the recipes for caprolacrum, as well as nylon. And now these assemblers will be the ones responsible for making me my new armor set. I am simply just going to request one of each, and I should have the ability to make all of these. And given that they're being manufactured in different assemblers, the recipes should not affect each other. And I can then shift my focus back on over to the task at hand. And just a little while of AFKing later, I've made the nano suit as well as the quantum net. Did I just put that on? No? Are you just invisible? That's unfortunate. Perhaps it's an armor stand thing. What if I use the Bibliocraft armor stands? Hold on. You know what? I guess it's gonna be invisible. You just have to believe me when I tell you that it's there. As much as I hate doing that, that's just sort of what's happened here. I don't know how to fix it. I tried the other armor stands. None of the armor stands work either. The display stands don't exactly make sense that way, so I'm just gonna call this quest complete and I'm gonna move on. I have better things to do. So I may have gotten a little bit distracted and ended up making not only the Neptunium armor from all of the crates that I had, but also the Steel Leaf set, the Copper set from Ice and Fire, and the Fiery set from the Twilight Forest. And I'm still looking to what to do with these other two. So there would have been an entire alternate reality where I had set up the souls recipes in runic crucibles as JEI suggests, but I have since received confirmation from the Discord that that is not how it works, and I have had to put both corrupt souls and enchanted souls in containment jars, and they are now gonna live right here next to the Drigmies. So yeah, that's how I'm farming these, I guess. That didn't seem to work at all. I guess I do have to actually trap the floating souls that like fly around when you kill something instead of just putting the items in there. That's a shame. Now I did happen to go out and about and kill a few dozen different things to see what gives me souls, but it wasn't until I swapped over to the unobtainium sword with soul looting 6 that I actually managed to not only spawn in a corrupt soul, but also an enchanted lost soul. I mean, I was ready with the splash bottles and everything. I did a little bit of looting too. But yeah, I finally got some, and it's time to do a ritual to put them in the jars. You've seen this 1,000 times before, and I'll show you it again. We just gotta put down the ritual brazier, put in the tablet, put down a source jar with some source in it, and put down the 2 containment jars. Right click the ritual to get it started, and then it's I don't gotta do that. I can just toss this out, and that should put one in there, and I'm gonna toss the other one out, and that should go in there. I'm hoping it does, because I'd have to go find it underground if it doesn't. Sir, excuse me, please. Hello, where are you? I guess my luck did run out. And yeah, they can just sort of travel through the ground. Rather unfortunate. Where'd it go? Oh man. Ah, found it. It was in my noodles. Alright, you're going in the jar this time, right? Please tell me you're going in the jar. Yes, it is. Excellent. And this guy can now live with the Drigmies, just like his brother. And although slow, I am getting them eventually. So, yeah, this should do just fine. So now then I can finally take this recipe, encode it, and put it into the automatic forge. And so as you can see from the forge, I have the Terra Stomp Prism, I have the Sea Prism, I have the Smelter Prism, and I have the Whirlwind Prism. And all of that effort just to get the Soul Binding Prism. The Corrupted Dust is just a crafting recipe, and that leaves me with the Lens of the Killer and the Star Fragments. And if there's going to be no runic crucibles in this space, that surely means that I can shove this guy a little bit further forward. I would, however, want to keep the other things around it, like the grading and stuff. So I'm just going to change the configurations here just a little bit. Extend it a little to the right, extend it a little to the left. Or sorry, the other way around. Do that, move it further to this way. Perfect. And with the other side getting the same treatment, I should now be able to say cut and completely remove it from that side of the base. I think I can put it right back down there. That looks about right. I am using it to replace these blocks, which it seems to have done perfectly. It did drop the arcane crystal obelisks, but I'm hoping that I can place them back, because I did mark out where they go just like that, so yep, everything seems to be functional. And I can, as a matter of fact, confirm the structure didn't form, and the upgrades were still in here, and I bet the pattern is also still in here. They are. And now all that's left is to rewire up this guy, because these were location based. I did remember hearing that the wireless connectors, if cut and pasted, can corrupt themselves a little bit, and I'm not too interested in any of that, so I just removed it beforehand. And I didn't show it in the previous episode, but I guess that's where that goes. The star shards themselves are also now made in the runic star altar, and that's pretty much as simple as clicking through the recipes and encoding all of them. That's 3 out of 4, or 5 I guess, 4 out of 5, and 5 out of 5. I've just got to put all of these in here. Cool. And that means next on the list is the lens of the killer, which in turn needs the lens of certain death, which in turn needs the lens of detonation, which needs the lens of color, which needs just the regular old lens. And I happen to have a really fun idea on how to automate this. So, I'm gonna take a gate, put it on an atomic reconstructor, and by default it's on pulse mode. But as you probably saw in that tooltip, all I need is a redstone torch, which I'll have to request, to toggle it to run constantly. There's a mode where it could just run constantly, right? Oh, this is the mode I'm looking for. I just saw it fire out. There it goes. And so it's just gonna keep zooping away and keep firing its laser at the wall here. A little bit of basic decoration later. Here's what I was thinking. A pattern provider pushes its stuff into some sort of barrel, and any old barrel will do. Yeah, the spruce barrel is fine. Right there. And this barrel will drop everything out. And for that, I'm gonna be using a funnel, like so. Well, perhaps it's gotta be like that, because the other ray was blocking this laser from going through. And that does remind me that that block will have to not exist for a moment, because a brass funnel will then pull the item back out. Falls on the ground, gets shoved this way, gets converted on the way, and gets pulled back in. And actually this is going a little too slow. I'm gonna toggle it back into pulse and use some sort of create component, probably a timer? A yimer? And sure, let's let this pulse timer run every 40 ticks. So once every 2 seconds it goes zoop. There it goes. And it'll keep doing its thing. And then crafting that lens with the sharpness 5 book and a diamond sword gives you the lens of the killer. And that's the thing we're after. Simply put that in as a filter, and that means that anything else would not go into the chute, or the funnel in this case, but if this was to go there, it would end up in the pattern provider. And now behind it is where I want to have just the tiniest little bit of fun with create. So as you can see, I've just put down an encased fan, and I want to use the encased fan to pull the item across until it's underneath the chute over there. And then that converts it, and eventually it'll get pulled back into the pattern provider, completing the craft. And after sending power on over to the encased fan, it's running properly. I can very easily put something in there. Gets pulled all the way across, assuming the magnet doesn't pick it up, and then it'll just work, hopefully. The easiest way to test this would be to toss this down, and yep, perfect. And the processing pattern for this guy is gonna look a little bit strange. It's gonna take a lens, and it's gonna output a lens of certain depth. And this is the machine that's gonna do that, so here we go. And then I will need another pattern to make the lens of the killer. And so I thought it'd be smart of me to test at least this subsystem first before I move on to the next thing, but hey, I was wrong twice. Not only was I wrong at first with setting that to be the lens of the killer when it's actually supposed to be the lens of certain depth, because this doesn't produce the lens of the killer, you also need to pick up the item every time, because this doesn't automatically convert on every pulse. It needs to be picked up and then placed back down for it to work. So now that each and every single one of the lenses has its own pattern that's going to be put down and picked back up and put down and picked back up until it's done with its crafts, and the atomic reconstructor can't repeatedly craft, I think it's time for me to finally try again, where I request the lens a certain depth, if I can even type, and do that. And it's gonna put down one of the lenses, pick it up, put the next one down, and that's gonna get picked up. Finally. And you know, this little bit of create sort of puts us perfectly into the next thing that I want to do, and that is the books. You see, this guy requires a book of sharpness 5. The infused Patrick Star requires a few books of mending, as a matter of fact. And one of the blocks in the ATM star recipe, the infused vibranium and obtanium alloy block, requires unbreaking 1. And you see, these books happen to have a fun create-based way, outside of just Ars Nouveau having crafting recipes for them, where you can use a printer with a book already in it, and a regular old book, and some XP to turn it into an enchanted book of the same variety. So basically duplicating the books. And that seems like a lot of fun. Just gotta patch up my access hole for the back of this guy, and I think the create machines can go over on this side. So I seem to have been left with a set of 7 white spaces where I can put machines, and I had decided to put 1 printing press per book per one of these cells. That's mostly because I have the space, and even then, all of that space remains empty, so I'm gonna have to think about something to put there. But yeah, I'm gonna build one of these and then copy and paste them around. And so here goes my idea. Set of shafts that are gonna be spinning a belt between them. Boop. In the middle here goes a printer, and I did make 3. And then pattern provider on one side, interface on the other, a funnel to pull the items back in, and a funnel going out. So yeah, the book will drop out, I'll fill this guy with experience from the interface, I guess. And then that should be it. Well, I guess I'm encoding that pattern manually. I'm telling you, this ATM10 playthrough has not been without its own set of hurdles and challenges. It's been a lot of fun, but hey, sometimes stuff like this happens and it's just plain old annoying. So here's where I was at. I wanted to test this out, and of course I don't have XP quite yet, but everything is spinning and everything is online. And I also happen to have an export bus back there to export experience. Yeah, I was just about to like put a book down and do all of that jazz, and I was like, hey, let me just, do this recipe and put this here, and I clicked this, and yeah, everything died. So I'm not going to do it this way. And I'm not going to do it that way either. The recipe for a sharpness 5 book is you basically have some experience and a sharpness 5 book. These are your catalysts. There's a book, and it turns into the sharpness 5 book. That is going to be my recipe. So I'm going to take a book, just a regular old book, please. Just want it, not a book. I just wanted that, so I can drag it in a book, and it'll turn into a sharpness 5 book. That's going to be it. Perfect. And from the library way back there, I've just grabbed out a sharpness 5 book that I'm going to give to the printer to tell it that, hey, you are now just going to only ever print books of sharpness 5. And here is my idea for liquid experience, because of course this machine cannot work without it. As you can see, XP droplets turn into liquid experience, which then gets pumped into this big old tank. And I can then use that experience for my AE2 network, and all will be golden. So after wrangling up some channels from around my base, all I gotta do is put in droplets of experience over here and pull them out using a brass funnel. This will make sure that slowly, over time, that gets drained into this tank, and I guess I should also make it so that it puts out a stack at a time. There we are. Let's do a stack, and of course this means that I'm going to be picking these up rather rapidly. That means I need a demagnetizing coil. And here it is, slowly building up. Liquid experience from the Create Enchantment industry. Perfect. Now I can come back down here, come over to the export bus, and just drag this over here. That should start filling this guy up, eventually. And hey, finally, I can test my sharpness 5 crafting recipe. All you gotta do is put a $sign before it to search for tags or something, or enchantment specifically. It should make a book, and poop it out on the funnel, I'm hoping. Is it doing it? Is it stuck? What is it doing? Oh, everything's available, but that is not a valid inventory. I see. Okay, no problem. I guess I gotta use a barrel. Does that fix it? If I put a barrel here? Yep, it has a book. If I put a funnel right here, it gets stamped. And then I guess I'm gonna have to do something similar here, where I pull the interface down, put it there, and then have a funnel going into it. I guess that fixes things. But hey, my book is behind this interface, so just gotta yoink it. Fortunately for you, you can just walk up to a belt and right-click stuff and pick it up. Perfect. And I guess I can return this to the pattern provider to complete the craft. Hell yeah, that system works. And just like that, there's number 2 with a recipe for mending book. The belt spinning the right way. This guy, oh, this guy doesn't have XP in it. Everything is fine. I was simply missing the export bus and the export tag on that one. So, yeah, that one's sharpness, that one's mending. That leaves me with unbreaking 1. And I think I'm gonna grab another unbreaking 1 book from the library. Boop. And all of this finally means I can encode a recipe for the infused Patrick Star. And I don't think I have recipes for these because I turned all of the recipes into blocks. There we go. That's all 3 of those. And then finally, I can remove this recipe and re-encode it to be the recipe I'm going to use from here onwards. Perfect. And now for the final test. I will have to request 1 ATM star to see if it functions properly, and in the time I've been working here, I've almost accumulated 1,000 star shards. So let's try it. Everything seems to be in order. All I need to do is click yes. Oh hey, this is doing its thing too. I don't know, I feel like watching it this time. Cool. And all of this automation you see around me finally puts me in the creative phase. And to get started with that, the first thing I gotta do is defeat the Wilden. That is because the creative spellbook requires an Archmage spellbook, which requires the Wilden tribute. And I mean, really, how hard can the Wilden really be? Alright, I mean, already pretty much indestructible at this point. Is that him? Okay. Is that it? No. When does this get interesting again? I mean, I bet it's a lot of work when you're actually not able to defend yourself very well. And now that I've cleared out of that area and I have the spike, the horn, and the wing, I can probably go into my old base. Well, the Wilden actually destroys stuff, which is why I was like, oh, I'll do it in my old base for funsies. But you know what? I'll do it nearby. So, to augment it, you gotta give it 1 tablet of Summon Wilden, and then right-click it with the wing, right-click it with the spike, and right-click it with the horn. And this should now spawn the Wilden Chimera. Or so I hope. I mean, that's what the thing said, right? You press shift here. Oh, here he is. Oh, it's a boss that has phases, so I gotta kill his minions first. Yeah, me too, buddy. Me too. There we go. That's phase whatever. 3, 2, something like that. And he's dead. Thank you very much. That's what I'm looking for. Ooh, shader grab bag. I wonder how many of these I have. A bunch from a bunch of boss fights. Cool, shaders. So, creative spellbook. I need a regular made spellbook, and that will come from, I guess, this recipe right here, which requires a good old normal book. There we go. Novice spellbook, which I can then use to upgrade into the next version. There we go. The mage spellbook, which I can then upgrade into the Archmage spellbook. And apparently I already had a mage spellbook. Kind of pointless doing that. But hey, now creative time. So 1, 2, and 3, and 1, 2, and 3. Creative spellbook. Next up, for the first time in a while, a crafting montage. The creative jetpack needs creative essence, creative capacitor, unobtainium jetpack, a creative thruster, and the alloy blocks. Putting this in a pattern request recipe tells me that I don't have recipes for this stuff. Of these items, a creative capacitor is made like so, and I already have SPS casing, reactor nitro, induction coils, and unobtainium blocks as recipes, so that's no problem at all. Next up, the creative thruster, which also seems like I have everything except the block of nitro crystals and creative energy cell. And the unobtainium furnace, apparently. Block of nitro crystals is easy enough. I can automate nitro crystals. That's done. Creative energy cell requires the nitro batteries, which I have automated in the past. Cool. unobtainium furnaces require unobtainium and the vibranium furnace, and the vibranium furnace requires vibranium and an aldomadium furnace, and an aldomadium furnace requires aldomadium ingots and a netherite furnace, which I have automated as a part of the rainbow furnace. And that completes my quest for a creative thruster. Now for the big one, the unobtainium jetpack, which requires not only the capacitor and the thruster, but also requires a vibranium jetpack. The unobtainium thruster comes from a regular furnace, ingots of unobtainium, and an unobtainium energy cell. And then the unobtainium energy cell comes from more of those ultimate coils. The ultimate coil in turn just comes from emeralds, sticks, and redstone. I mean, sure, that seems like too easy of a craft in my opinion. And so going back a few steps, the unobtainium capacitor just comes from more unobtainium energy cells, which already have a pattern, and more ingots of unobtainium. And then the vibranium jetpack, which requires the aldomadium jetpack and the vibranium components. And the rest follow the same pattern, so I'm just gonna time-lapse the rest. Alright, nearly an inventory full of patterns later, I believe I can make just everything. Cool. And there it is, with quests complete and a few speed-ups for the Hephaestus Forge, as well as the, whatchamacallit? This guy, big guy, Runic Star Altar. I'm considering soul-surging them. Alright, next on the list is the Creative Blood Drop, and at this point I'm probably just gonna start encoding recipes. Alright, Tenacity Tier 3 needed these two items. I just needed to come out here and suss this system out all over again, and I'm fine now. So, the Diamond Promise Acceptor requires a Promise of Tenacity 2, which I have done, and this guy requires a Dusted Bowl of Promises. And I do believe I had a recipe for the Dusted Bowl of Promises. I do not. That's completely okay, because I can do one right now. Need that, and a Bowl of Empty Promises, which comes from the Dark Gems, and a Dark Power Gem simply comes from infusing this with 250 millibuckets of blood. Now, blood is not included as part of this recipe, so I just had to go in here and add it manually, like so, and 250 millibuckets. So 0.250 buckets. Set. And encode. So now, I should hypothetically be able to create the Creative Blood Drop. Ooh, except I'm missing a few other key items. Necromancer Staff. Check. Rejuvenated Flesh. Check. Maze of Distortion. Check. A Bear Brush. And then a Bear Cap. And now pressing shift on this broom tells me that I have to make it a wheat brush, and so I would come back to my brush and then look at the recipe to turn it into a wheat brush, and that uses hay bales, for example. A dark gem cap, and then a wooden rod. Finally, you can combine them in a crafting grid as a shapeless recipe to get you your broom of your specified type. Now to fill all of these up with blood. And in my case, that's as simple as shift left clicking on my blood supply from my ME system directly. Perfect. And so, Creative Blood Drop, here we go. Last time I was missing just one of them substitution recipes, and so I couldn't use the broom, but now everything should be crafted up, plain and simple. Or so I hope. It's just doing the star stuff. Cool. Ooh, this is gonna need a little bit of a speed up. There we go, that's more like it. Come on, chop chop. Should be done any second now. Okay, the Bowl of Promises. And just like that, after a little bit of fiddling around, because I was making the wrong types of promises of tenacity, the Creative Blood Drop is also mine. Next up, the Creative Source Shard, which also does need the Unobtainium Source Shard. And so, I think this is just going to be a stacked recipe for this guy. recipes in place, and it should be as simple as, ooh, it needs full unobtainium source shards. That might be a problem, but I can request just plain all unobtainium source shards, all 4 of them, and just wait. And with the full source shards, the creative source shard is only a little few steps away, I guess. It's gotta craft the entire ATM star every single time. That's a little bit of a problem. That's okay though. And hey, also the creative source shard. Now allegedly, this is a creative only item. However, if I combine an advanced air compressor, an electrostatic compressor, a flux compressor, an advanced liquid compressor, and enough advanced pressurized tubes at 5 bar, I can get me one of these. And all of those recipes are now in place. I've just gotta put them back in this. And I'm almost at the end of row number 5. And with the pressure building up in the pressure chamber, I think I'm ready to get myself the creative doohickey. I don't think I encoded a recipe for the big guy though. So here we go. That's that recipe. And it's gonna go right here in this barrel. Eventually. Here we go. That is the pressure chamber. That's where the ATM star and the Patrick star recipes used to be. But now I should be able to request the creative compressor. But I'm short on ATM star shards. That's rather unfortunate, but I can always speed up the bees, of course. Yeah, perfect. No problem at all. 48 starry comb at a time. A singular bee is going to probably be enough. It's 120 short. Give it a few more seconds. 114 short. Yeah, maybe this is done by the time 30 seconds goes down. Hey, I finally have enough stuff. So, there we go. That's doing the stuff. I'm probably crafting up some capacitors and the jazz. Perfect. That's making PCBs. And in fact, I can probably speed these up ever so slightly. I don't know if speeding up the pressure chamber does anything, but I might as well do it. Oh, look at these bad boys go. Hell yeah. Oh, it's putting in the pieces. And then it's just got to repressurize all the way up to 5 bar. And you know what? I can probably help it along just a tiny bit. Of course, only the best fuel for my generators. They're using insanium coal blocks. Of course they are. But hey, that's going up rapidly. I'm feeling impatient. Let's just max this out. There we go. I bet I'm limited by this guy, so let's just do that. 4.93. What all can I speed up? Everything. Speed up everything, please, and thank you. There we go. Creative compressor. You can chill out now. It's fine. I promise nothing's gonna explode. I think. Moving swiftly along, I want to make the creative compressed iron block because that allows me to maintain any temperature I want. Well, that sounds like a deal and a half to me, and compressed iron is surprisingly cheap for me to manufacture. I can just walk on over to this barrel and get myself the creative block as well. So just beep, bop, and I'm missing a little bit of star shards. You know what that means. It means this guy gets to get sped up, and since I wasn't missing too much, it might just be fine. You come back over here. There we go. Simple enough. And let's see what it's doing. Everything's done except the star, and the star is happening as we speak. And here it is, the creative cube thing. I didn't actually mean to place this down, so okay, I can't pick this back up. Can I just right click it and I can set it at whatever temperature I want. Whatever temperature I want. The next one should be a simple one because I have already created in the past a recipe for the energy battery. And the ATM star should be no problem at all, and I foresee an upgrade in this pattern provider's future. And fortunately for this guy, the future is now. So the extended pattern provider goes exactly where its predecessor was, and I can now just shift click these patterns back in. Perfect. So now, it should be as simple as clicking this and clicking next. Ooh, just a tiny bit short and missing a little bit of energy batteries. But I just set up a recipe for those. I mean, I'm not crazy. There's an energy battery right here. I can craft it. There it is. It's crafted. Why is it saying it's missing? You know what? Manually, maybe some sort of versioning, or maybe it's some other issue, but I've just manually made 4. And if I now request the creative thing, still missing 4 energy batteries. Interesting. You know what? Maybe if I just put this in manually. Oh yeah. There we go. And that's it. It's done. The creative energy battery. Max int RF, and it was done in a few seconds. Basically happened live. How cool is that? The creative energy cell is much of the same. Another one of these recipes that goes in here. Probably getting the Certus quartz for this is going to take longer than actually crafting everything. Still a few shards short. But hey, that's nothing a little bit of speeding up couldn't help with. And there we go. Let's just say start. And I want to see how long this takes, because I would like to catch this live if at all possible. Yep, that's it. That's all it took. The creative energy cell. And I imagine the creative energy cell is literally just gonna make my power be max int when I hook it up to my network. And given how quickly this crafted, I think I can make 2 of them. So there we go. Let's just make another. Still a few starter shards short. Just gonna really quickly do that. But hey, that means that I get to break this guy and put this guy in. Yeah. Looks no different, or actually minimally different from its neighbors, but big impact. I imagine once I right click this guy, yeah, it's just a really, really big number in storage, huh? And you know what? I was sort of AFK watching a few videos, and I figured if I'm just gonna wait around for a bit, I might as well make another Starry Bee. So, yeah, Patrick. Where's Patrick? Here's Patrick. One more Patrick Bee, please, and thank you. I've just gotta fly on down to my designated bee area, which has ended up being this place. I now have 2 ATM bees, and this was in an effort to get more power into my AE2 network, because there is no kill like overkill. I'm gonna keep working on that side quest later, but for now, this can be checked off the list, and we can move on to the creative energy cell from Power. That's gonna be using nitro energy cells, which are gonna be using a bunch of nitro stuff, as well as niotic. No, that's spirited. The one below this is niotic. Yep, niotic energy cells, which are using blazing energy cells, which are using hardened energy cells, which are using basic energy cells. And I think I want to make it this way. Cool. And much like before, I just gotta click request. It's probably gonna use this a bunch. Or not, I don't really know. But hey, eventually, it'll be done. And in the meantime, let's get to it here. And here it is, one more creative item. And this now leaves me with just one more thing to make. And rather strangely, it's a strange feeling knowing that this is probably the last heavy autocraft I'm going to be putting through the system. But I'm going to do it just the same. One creative energy cell, please. I believe that's what this thing's called. Right? Ultimate energy cube, creative energy cube, whatever. Mechanism thing. There we go. Click next. Everything should be ready. There it is. That wasn't even that difficult. Did it even... Oh, it doesn't even use any of the creative blocks. It's just called the creative thing. Oh, but to get it powered, you need multiple. Okay, that's fine. I can do 4 of these. Yes, please. Let's just say start, and also make an ATM star while we're at it. I have enough shards thanks to there being 2 bees now. Excellent. Beep, boop, 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 bap, and lasers. And it should be done. Cool. And you know, technically, at this point, I have achieved everything I ever wanted from this series. I have done all of the ATM star quests, and actually have an empty bookmark tab for once. I even cleared this out. And I could just roll the outro right here, right now. But you know what I'd be missing? I'd be missing a place to call home. So, cue a time lapse maybe? A montage? Another one? And so with a little bit of interior decoration in that time lapse you just saw, a lot of it was done off camera, a little bit of fiddling around. Nothing too fancy, of course. I would now like to announce the end of ATM10. Of course, a huge thank you to all of the patrons who've chosen to support me throughout this series. Their names shall forever be immortalized on the wall behind me here. And just for funsies, I have decided to have a few signs in every single world I do end up making. That is the name of the series and where I finished it, and so that's going to be KSAW's ATM10 because that's what the name of the world is. It started on October 15th and it ended on August 9th, 2025. And so while I wind up and put everything where it may be accessible to whoever gets the world download, I have to tell you guys that I'm choosing to put the world download as a Patreon exclusive. That's because I feel like I didn't actually do much for the Patreon supporters on the wall here. And so if you want to get the world download, support me on Patreon. And so for as little as a one-time subscription fee of $2, you can get your hands on this here world save. And also get your name on a sign and in the scroll as long as you're an active member. But hey, it is now time to finally end this. And I'm choosing to put all of my belongings that I was carrying on me in this nightstand right here, and then this armor will end up on this armor stand. Boop, 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 and finally, boop. And one last time, this has been KSAW from All the Mods 10, and I'll see you when I see you. Peace out, everybody.